You recognize.
I have heard the same misinformation over and over again, and I know we're squeezed for time, so I wasn't going to talk. I can't help myself because I just cannot let it go.
He says that every single time.
So let's talk about just a few things. One, tax cuts for the wealthiest billionaires and millionaires. I don't know, the guy that cuts my hair is not a billionaire. The waitress or waiter when you go into the diner is not a millionaire or a billionaire. The folks that work in the casino industries and work on tips are not millionaires or billionaires. The construction workers that I know that when they work overtime, working their back off, and they have to decide whether it's even worth it because they're not with their family, and now are going to get a tax break, they're not millionaires or billionaires either. By the way, the young family that has just a new child welcomed into this world and is getting a tax cut, the child tax credit, they're not millionaires or billionaires. Or guess what, folks? The people that have to go out and get car loans, and now for the first time in many, many years, are able to write off the interest that they're paying on the car loan. They're not millionaires and billionaires. Let's stop saying this. I mean, I know there's a certain political wisdom that you say something over and over and over and over again, people will believe it's true. And there may be some truth to that politically, but it's disingenuous. And quite frankly, in this Judiciary Committee, which is a committee that should be full of good information, we just shouldn't do that. It's just not true. It's not right. It doesn't help anything. Second thing, in the big, beautiful bill, we try to make that out. And again, I have to give it to the other side. Politics, they're good at it. People are confused. It does all these things. Let's talk about the Medicaid just issue for 1 minute. So if you are disabled, you still get Medicaid the way that you always did. If you are a young family, if you've got children, you do. If you're a senior citizen, you do. Almost everybody does. But if you're single, young, healthy individual, and you can work, yeah, you've got to work 20 hours a week. Guess what? Most Americans are working more than 20 hours a week. Or if you don't want to do that, you can volunteer. You can go to the Humane Society and pet dogs. Or if you don't want to do that, you can get on the computer and work increasing your education, get your GED or learn a trade or get your a college degree or whatever it is to learn to be productive. All of these programs are to help people that are in need or people that need a hand up, but then you want to make them part of productive society. So let's tell the truth. And that's why I'm speaking up now, because for the few folks out there in the real world that listen to this, I don't want them to be misinformed. And the other side is misinforming them. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will
Will you yield to me?
Yes, I will yield.
I appreciate the gentleman yield. I just want to echo what the gentleman said. I think this resolution from the gentleman from Arizona is exactly on target. Letting families keep more of their money is a good thing. Letting moms and dads spend their money on their kids, their family, their goals, their dreams is a good thing, and making it tougher for government to take their money in the first place is a good thing as well. And that's why I oppose the amendment and support the gentleman's resolution. With that, I yield back to the gentleman from New Jersey.
Can I have can I have your time, Mr. Van Drew? Thank you, thank you. I don't want to belabor and answer everything that was said, but I would just say about this amendment, it's absurd, it's stupid, it's insane, it's silly, it's a fool's errand. That's what I would say about that. And then I'd also say this, 1% of the people in this, the top 1% of wealth in this country pays 37% of all the federal income federal taxes. The top 5% pays 61% of all the taxes paid in this country. The top 10% pays 72% of the federal taxes paid in this country. That is the fact. Yield back, Mr. Van Drew. Yield back to you.
The gentleman from New York is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the gentleman from New Jersey makes the point, the valid point, that the people who cut his hair, the people who deliver the groceries are not millionaires and billionaires. Of course they're not. But there are millionaires and billionaires. Let me name 5. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg. And they're not paying their fair share of taxes. Now, yes, I don't remember the statistics that Mr. Biggs gave us, and I'm sure they're correct, but they're inadequate. The fact that the top 2% pays 10% of the taxes, or whatever the figure is, doesn't mean they're paying their proper share. That depends on how wealthy they are. And clearly, they're not paying their fair share. And that's a judgment, obviously. But it's a judgment that should be subject to a majority vote. Why would we want to say that a Congress that decided that Elon Musk wasn't paying enough taxes can't do that without a 2/3 vote? These are judgment calls. Billionaires should pay more taxes, in my opinion. Mr. Van Drew may disagree. I don't know. But Mr. Van Drew's opinion and my opinion should both be subject to majority votes, not the 2/3 votes. Why would we tell the American people that they cannot, through their representatives in Congress, decide that Elon Musk is not paying enough taxes? That we should run huge budget deficits rather than increase Elon Musk's taxes? I don't know why. And that's why I support the gentlelady's amendment and oppose the underlying amendment.
Will the gentleman yield?
I certainly will.
You know, the gentleman from New York makes a profound point. Everybody knows the rich get richer. Everybody knows the poor get trampled. Everybody knows the role that big money plays in Washington, in Congress, with our colleagues. But now they want to make that the law. In fact, they want to make it so lopsided that you need 2/3 in order to raise taxes in a progressive direction. Our colleagues invite us to reflect on the fact that the wealthiest people pay most of the taxes, yet they also get extraordinary benefits from the government and from the society. That's what taxation is all about. It's a statement that we live in a community and all of us participate in shouldering the burden. But there are people, the Jeffrey Epstein class, the Bezos class, the Donald Trump class, who view it all as a ripoff. Government is not an instrument for the common good. It's not an instrument of the public interest. Government's an instrument for private self-enrichment for the guy who gets in, and his wife and his family and their corporations and their friends. So I'm happy to yield, but I just want to say this. That may be your public philosophy, but I'm sorry, it's not my time. I'll get back to Nadler so he can get it to you. But I will say this. We're going to have a referendum on this. Your public philosophy that government is an instrument for private self-enrichment for the guy who gets in and his family, and they're making billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars in his first year in office, or our vision of government, which is it's got to be an instrument for the common good of everybody. I yield back to Mr. Nadler.
Mr. Nadler, would you yield?
I will yield to the gentleman.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that we can have a discussion about how much is actually going to working people versus the millionaires and billionaires. I'll tell you, under the Big Bad Betrayal bill, the average family earning less than $50,000 will get about $1 a day in tax cuts, which is completely overturned by how much more they have to pay for health care because Medicaid was slashed, the tax credits were taken away, all the other ways in which their costs increase. Meanwhile, the average tax filer earning $1 million or more a year would receive about $90,000 in tax breaks. So I think if you're going to give crumbs to working people and tell them to be grateful for it, I think a lot of people are not going to want to do that. That's why that bill was so unpopular. But on top of that, we're saying don't have a different threshold for looking at spending versus revenue. Why cement in a 2/3 threshold for anything that involves tax breaks for the wealthiest and making the wealthiest pay their fair share, but then you're fine with just cutting spending for healthcare or energy assistance or housing or anything else? That doesn't make sense. So my amendment says, let's at least make the thresholds the same, because what you did in this current form of the bill is you said you need a supermajority to raise taxes on billionaires who have already got that's the wrong one. Already got $52 trillion of wealth. So why are you protecting them? That's the question I have for you. Why not actually champion working families?
Time of the gentleman has
Chairman,
expired.
I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. So does the gentlelady and the gentleman, do they support making it tougher to raise taxes on the barber that cuts Mr. Van Drew's hair? Because that was his point.
Well, do you want me to
Sure.
respond to that?
Sure.
look, if you want to have a real discussion about how to cut taxes for working people and make sure that they can afford the expenses they have currently, we should do that.
It's a yes or no, but the
Well,
simple
no,
answer,
Mr.
do you
Chairman.
support making it more difficult to raise taxes on working-class families, on small business owners? That was Mr. Van Drew's point. That's the point of the bill, making it more difficult to raise the taxes on small business owners and families.
Mr. Chairman, do you know that the recent New York Times Siena poll says that 60% of Americans today cannot afford education, that 55% can't afford
It sounds like you don't support raising
housing.
taxes on those families.
I don't, yes, I
wanna make it harder to
believe-
raise taxes on
I
those families.
believe that we actually have to support the fundamental expenses that Americans need to
Okay.
absorb
I will
around
yield-
housing,
we gotta
around
go-
healthcare.
We got to go vote, but I will yield any time that I have to the gentleman from New Jersey on this.
I thank the chairman. You know, over and over again, I've seen this. I'm a high-tax state, New Jersey. I see it everywhere. There's this discussion of progressive tax, that the rich should pay their fair share. I agree. But you know who gets hit every time? And go out into the street and talk to them? The middle class. We talk so much here, and we should, it's good, about the poor and about the very wealthy, the very poor and the very wealthy. The people that make everything happen in this country to a great degree, who work, the people that build your buildings, build your cars, fix your roads, I can go through the list. They're middle-class, hard-working people. And if you told them, well, with these progressive taxes, we only increase the taxes on the wealthy, we don't want to hurt the middle class, they're not going to buy it, because the middle class gets hit every single time, whether they're middle, upper middle, or lower middle, the working class people. And I've said this before, and I'm going to be outspoken about it. The people at the very bottom are kind of getting helped. Maybe you have some points about the people at the very top, but the people in the middle, our working people who make this country go, are getting screwed every time. With that, I yield back to the chairman.
Gentleman yields back. The committee will stand in recess.